So this show originally aired in 2013, and one of the realities of just doing a daily show is you don't remember that much over the years. I mean, you don't remember a particular day all that well. It's just because we do so many shows and they're all so different and one thing kind of drives out another. But I really kind of do remember how I felt having Peter Tork in my studio, having Peter Tork out in the hallway coming into my studio. I loved the Monkees. I understood all the ways in which the Monkees could be discredited by people who were eager to discredit them. But I thought they were a very talented group of entertainers. They were backed by an incredibly impressive stable of songwriters, and they were charming and funny. And Peter Tork, being kind of a certain geeky, kind of not exactly cool guy, was was very resonant for me as a teenager. So, yes, Peter Tork did die recently, and we are very sad about this. But we're also very happy to have this show that we can share with you. Here's our Peter Tork show from 2013.
Hello, Mr. Tork.
Well,
I just want to say that you were always my favorite Monkee, for real. I mean, I could pass a polygraph on that. It wasn't Ken or Jimmy or little Andrew. He sucks.
I don't think those are the real...
It's a total thrill to have you here. I mean, the Monkees, right? Take the left plane to Dogtown. It's the thrill of...
That's not even how it goes.
Another pheasant in me someday.
You don't even know how the song...
Oh, Mr. Tork, I hope this isn't too forward or I'm being too aggressive, but can I get a hug?
Look, I'm not Peter Tork. I work here, upstairs. You see me every day. I work in corporate digital directory management.
Oh, Brad, right.
It's Greg.
I'm so embarrassed.
We could still hug.
I don't think so. I mean, you're not any kind of monkey, correct?
Right.
Then no hug, Todd.
Greg. Damn it.
Whatever. Today on the show, the real Peter Tork. And now he's wearing his Monkees flicker ring today. Actually, he wears it every day. Colin McEnroe.
Well, in my case, it really is true. And I could pass a polygraph. Peter Tork is and was my favorite Monkee. And I'm very excited to have him here today. He's my favorite in lots of other ways, too. So before we get too deep into the history of the Monkees, let's hear a little bit of what Peter Tork sounds like these days. This is Peter Tork in the band Shoe Suede Blues.
Yeah,
so
say that 5 times fast.
That would be considered a spoonerism, right? Isn't that a spoonerism?
Yep, that's a spoonerism.
Yeah. So
Cinderfella, 3 Sisty Ugglers.
Yeah. So, and once I learn how to say it, I think I won't be able to say it the other way anymore. But Peter Tork and Shoe Suede Blues. This is I Know Love.
Well, I know love when it don't do good. I know love when it does what it should. I know love because you know I've had my share of love and both the good and bad. I know love and it do what it wants to do. I know love when it hit me and a honey love, so do you. Well, I know love when it's right and it's true. I know love when it's black and it's blue. I know love because you know I've had my share of love and both the good and bad. I know love and it do what it wants to do. I know love when it hit me and a honey love, so do you. Woo!
So that's Peter Tork and Shoe Suede Blues. You know, obviously a big part of your story is being a folk musician in Greenwich Village, but you also grew up probably with music that sounded a lot like this. What's the first rock and roll you remember? What really inflamed you for rock and roll?
My first flame.
Your first inflammation.
My
please.
first. They have jokes for that now.
That's right.
They
have topical creams for it too. So.
But back then, as a matter of fact, it was the Elvis song, "I Want You, I Need You, I Love You." I kind of listened to rock and roll up till then, but it was sort of plain. You know, I grew up with classical music in my household, and when you could tell what the next chord was in a given song without ever having heard the song before, you didn't feel harmonically challenged at all, you know. So along comes "I Want You, I Need You, I Love You." I wish we could play a bit of it, but we, you know. But the thing about it was harmonically very new, And there was something else about it, too, and I don't know what it was, but it got me. It got me good. The walls of Jericho did not come down as fast as my resistance to pop and rock did with this song.
We should explain, first of all, that a lot of your story begins in Connecticut. Let's go back before Greenwich Village. You were, is it okay to call you a faculty brat? Did they call you that?
Yeah.
Brat.
Nobody actually says that to my face much, but yeah, my father taught economics at the University of Connecticut. It was his only teaching job, and it was his career for, I don't know how long, till he retired. And we lived in stores, or near there, Mansfield Center, stores like that, from the time I was 9. And in fact, one or another of the members of the family has lived there continuously to the present day, pretty much. I mean, my parents died. It took me a little while to take over the house, but I came back on that account.
I know you went to Carleton College, but at some point you just decided I'm going to show up with my guitar/banjo in Greenwich Village.
Yeah, actually, I flunked out for the second time, and they said, no, don't even bother anymore. And I said, okay. And my father said, what are you going to do? I said, go to New York to seek my fame and fortune. I didn't find it there.
Yeah, well,
but it came along later on, such as it was. And yeah, I simply was beamed into Greenwich Village at that very moment. I had a little place to stay and played my little folky music until I was given to go west.
Where did you play your little folky music? I mean, just at little clubs?
In Greenwich Village,
yeah.
There were coffee houses galore.
Yeah.
The thing was just chock-a-block with little basket-passing coffee houses. They charged $1 for a cup of coffee, which is cheap now, but at the time when coffee was like 20 cents or something, it was like, what? Well, that's how we make our money. Yeah. So, it wasn't any good either. But I passed the basket, or in my case, the back of my banjo was open, so I had a longer handle than the basket, so I could get to the guys who were sneaking in the back trying to get away. I went from club to club, finally getting a sort of a steady gig. I played a quarter of the hour from 7 at night until 4 in the morning. That was a schooling, and grabbing a pizza and a stein between sets and coming back and just did that for 2.5 years almost. I did also was an accompanist for a folk group called the Phoenix Singers. I played professionally as an instrumentalist for a little while.
The tone of your voice and the expression on your face suggests that at least in the rearview mirror that was a very happy time for you. You really were.
Oh, the Village days were fabulous.
Yeah.
It was from the moment I landed. It was like exhale, like that. And it was wonderful. I treasure those years. I treasure them almost every year of my life, actually. I'm very lucky that way. I've just had a very lucky life.
You rattled through some names there. One of them was Stephen Stills, and it's pretty well known that you and Stephen Stills were friends and that you encouraged him also to audition for the Monkees, right?
No.
I got it wrong.
No, not quite. Yeah. Stephen and I were the kids who knew each other on Greenwich Village streets. I actually said, friends of mine, there's a new kid on the block. He looks just like you. And about 2 days later, I met him and I knew who he was instantly. I said, you're the kid that looks like me. He said, you're the kid I'm supposed to look like. We shook hands and laughed. And we've been friends ever since, to varying degrees of intimacy and time spent. But as it happened, Steve met. He called me on the phone one time later on and said, I just met a guy socially at a party who is making a TV show about Hard Day's Night, essentially, and you ought to try out. I said, well, what about you? He said, they deemed my hair and teeth to be not telegenic, and they asked me, did I know anybody who looked like me, and who, incidentally, might have had 1/10 my talent, and I thought of you, Peter. So, and so I actually, and he had to call me again. I said, yeah, I hung up. And he called again. And so I actually went down to, went up for the interview. You've heard about the famous ad, right? There was an ad in the local trades, wanted for insane lads 17 to 22 or something. I was already older than that, but never mind. Mm-hmm. And Ben Frank's types, it said, referring to a local hangout that everybody was of a certain. Then it said, must come down for interview. Sly.
Yes, that's a 60s joke.
That's a 60s. Well, I don't think anybody's going to miss it now. Anyway, so that was the kind of, if you don't mind the expression, head that they brought to the table, the producers. if there's one reason why I think the Monkees were successful at what they did and why we have as a pop act, why we have had anything like the long-term success we've had, it was because those producers were fans of the Beatles. You know, it's awfully easy to sit up in an office someplace and say, "Hey, this is what the kids are enjoying. We can make something Dell-like." That wasn't it. They liked it. Yeah. They wanted to be part of it. They knew, and they were smart guys, and so they said, and they caught lightning in a bottle. I mean, I look at those guys, and I don't know. I don't count myself an amazingly talented guy. Moderately talented, and I think I am the least funny, the least talented, and the least the worst actor of the four of us.
I don't know. First of all, you are my favorite monkey.
I know.
Back off.
One thing. Yeah, stop cursing out my favorite monkey. The one thing that I have was that character I brought in, which was really culled from some place within me. And the only other thing that I actually can lay claim to is that I was the best trained musician of the group, having gone to school and all that stuff. But those guys are amazingly talented and funny, so just to hang out with those guys is something, I'll tell you.
Why don't we play this? This is one of your favorite Monkees songs, and it's actually a cappella.
Yeah, great. And it's the only a cappella thing we ever did. It's the only thing where it's all four of us working equally on the thing. And one other thing about this is that we recorded this live on a TV stage. We didn't go into a regular recording studio. And you don't record live on TV stages because TV stages cost many, many times more per hour than audio does. But we just knocked this off in 2 passes, and this is it. It's a old Spanish song.
It's a Christmas song, basically.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. I don't know. It's about something about a wolf.
All right. Let's hear a little Ryu Chu.
Chiu.
Riu, Chiu, la guarda ribera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. Riu, Riu, Chiu, la guarda ribera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. El lobo rabioso la quiso morder, mas Dios poderoso la supo defender. Quízole hacer que no pudiese pecar, ya no originales tu virgen no tuviera. Riu, Riu, Chiu, la guarda ribera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. Esta que es nacido es el gran monarca, Cristo patriarca de carne vestido, ya nos redimido con cerarse chiquito, aunque infinito, finito se hiciera. Riu, Riu, Chiu, la guarda ribera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera. Dios guardó el lobo de nuestra cordera.
Okay, the Monkees, but not exactly how you remember the Monkees. But no, explain why you like that song, and you really do like that song.
Yeah, I do. I think it's fabulous. It's all of the things about it. The fact that it was recorded. We're doing the Christmas song. Let's have a little something and we shot it. Shot it live to camera. So you never do that. You just don't do that because if you make a mistake, you have to go back, and video time is so much more expensive than audio time. And no instruments, a cappella, blend of voices. The only time the four of us ever sang together, all of us at once.
And it's a nice blend. You blend really nicely.
We were amazed at that. Yeah. I was impressed with that blend.
It made me think of I heard somewhere that. I think it was the song Because, when the Beatles recorded Because, they went out on a bench just outside and sat there for about 4 hours working, just singing the 3 harmonies together. And Ringo sat with them in solidarity. I mean, he'd sing it all, but just until they got that harmony. And boy, your voices, they really do blend really, really beautifully in a very natural way.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Just you catch one of those nothing else we ever did was like that. And we didn't pursue this and say, hey, maybe we've got something here. Let's go into classical music or something.
We're talking to Peter Tork. I want to talk a little bit more about Monkees' history. One of the things that I've read was that at a certain point, you guys started to push back a little bit against the management, that there was sort of a plan for you and a way that you were going to be handled and a way that your music was going to be handled and who was going to produce it. At a certain point, did you did you bind together a little bit and say, well, wait a second, we're the Monkees, we'll decide some of these things?
Kinda. The area that we were concerned with was the music, mostly because we caught such flack for the fact that the records were produced largely without us.
Yeah.
Always one of us on lead vocal, but on the first two albums, all but a couple of cuts of Mike's on each album were produced in the studio someplace else, and we were brought in to sing lead over usually Mickey, of course, and secondarily Davy, the late, great Davy. I didn't get it, I get it now. It makes all kinds of sense to me now. We worked from 7:30 in the morning until 7 at night every day making a TV show. And there wasn't time for us to sit in the studio and crank out an album, which, it took me a while to catch on to that because I didn't know how albums were made in those days. So it made all kinds of sense. And yet when all the flack hit, the Monkees don't play their own, they're fake. Incidentally, this part's a lot of fun. In Hollywood, where everybody was saying, oh, the Monkees are fake musicians, I don't mind the TV show. That's not bad. But the music, these guys are all fake. They don't deserve. It turns out years later I found out that all the kids in the off-Broadway theaters in New York were saying those 4 kids can't act their way out of a paper bag. They don't deserve the TV show. The music isn't bad, but the acting is awful. So, it just depends on whose territory they think you're stepping on. So, but we got a lot of flack, and I bought into it too. We weren't the Beatles. That was dishonorable. Everybody had to be the Beatles. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of feeling for it. Michael had a lot of feeling for it. Mickey and Davy, who basically came up as actors, and actors, that's how they do it for actors. We make an album, you sing. But we did fight. We fought and won the right to make our own music. And the third album, Headquarters, is us on instruments, us picking the songs. In fact, writing them ad hoc. At one point, Mickey and Mike just dashed aside and wrote some verses for a kind of a Johnny B. Good type chart, and came back and so we sang that. That was a lot of fun. Instant stuff,
It's the TV show was really funny too. John Lennon famously said you were the funniest comedic group since the Marx Brothers. It's a funny show. I think it holds up pretty well. I watched a few clips on YouTube. Everything has survived. Yeah. It holds up. Did you think of yourself as a comedian going into this, as a funny person? When you were in Greenwich Village working the crowd, I assume part of that was being kind of comically engaging.
Oh yeah, jokes were the issue. Yeah. You had to come up with the jokes. Sure. Being funny was very much part of it. I just saw my own what they called a personality interview the other day. They set me up in front of a camera and started talking to me, nothing scripted. And I was having a hard time keeping from grinning stupidly. And the guy said, what's wrong with your mouth? I said, I've been meaning to $500 for the nose and the mouth. That just came out of my mouth like that, this kind of thing. And it was all about jokes and that kind of thing. So sure, and we worked at it. We learned improv comedy from our director, James Frawley, who'd worked in Second City, was a comic in Second City.
And so you developed this character, and obviously you were all there under your own first names, and this character was, I don't know, how would you describe it? He was kind of the naive...
Yeah, simple.
Simple.
The simpleton. Well, not in the sense... Simpleton has connotations.
You were easily victimized.
Easily victimized, not very socially aware, not terribly alert, kind of involved in, whatever it was. Good bass player, but not a very smart guy.
Although I have this whole theory about comic ensembles that, first of all, comic ensembles do have to have some kind of balance. Whether you're watching a show like Taxi or the Mary Tyler Moore Show,
of course,
or reading a comic strip that has a bunch of characters.
All the good ensemble shows have a range, wide range.
And you have to have one person who's kind of connected to a slightly different reality. And I always thought you were sort of that person, too.
I am, yeah. Ringo was the guy who took that job in the Beatles, sort of. Hard Day's Night, which incidentally, apparently was written by a guy who followed them around and just wrote down their jokes in large measure, I have a Ringo joke, a Ringo story. Ringo did a commercial with the Monkees. I don't know if you know this.
I do know this, actually, but only because of my extensive preparation for this moment.
If I hadn't worked so hard, I wouldn't know this. And one shot, Ringo's sitting at the drums, and the three Monkees, not Mike, but the other three, come in, and we're supposed to say, hey, great pizza. And we're sitting there waiting for the shot to happen. Ringo says something droll, and I said, Ringo, we're the comedians. You're just a musician. We'll do the funny stuff. Ringo said, I've been funny. People have laughed at me jokes.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here. Do we have break music? Do we have the music for the break? Can we play that? All right, we have to take a little break here.
Music for the break.
We have music for the break, and we'll come back with more of Peter Tork.
We'll be back in a minute, back. Don't get it, don't go away, better stay right there. Don't turn us off, 'cause there's no place else to go. We'll be back in a minute, back. Don't get it, don't go away, better stay right there. Don't turn us off, 'cause there's no place else to go. But the show.
If you're just tuning in, we're re-airing an interview that I did with former Monkee Peter Tork, who recently died. It's a fun interview, one of the best days of my interviewing life. I hope you enjoy it too. We're back with Peter Tork. You know him from the Monkees. Let's hear some up-to-date Peter Tork. This is a song called Your Molecular Structure, which I associate with Mose Allison. Did he write?
Yeah, he wrote this.
Yeah.
But we just cut it.
Right.
It's we have a new CD out called Step by Step, and you can get it on CD Baby. And you can download songs for a pittance on my website.
Awesome. Well,
petertork.com.
yeah. So get your pittance out. And
several pittance.
Several pittances. All right.
I don't know. I only have one pittant.
let's is pittant the singular of pittance? All right. Let's hear. Let's hear a little of Your Molecular Structure.
Molecular structure is really something fine, a first-rate example of functional design. Those cosmic undulations are steady coming through. Your molecular structure, baby, me and you. Your cellular organization is really something choice. Electromagnetism bound to make me lose my voice. Got all my circuits open, my systems re-go. Your cellular organization, baby, stop the show. Molecular structure is really something swell. A high-frequency modulated Jezebel. Thermodynamically, you're getting to me. Your molecular structure, baby. Ooh-wee.
It's Peter Tork, Your Molecular Structure. That's great.
And Shoe Suede Blues.
And Shoe Suede Blues. Is that you on the guitar?
No. That's our guy Joe Boyle, who's a freak of nature. I think he spent time learning all of the notes on the harmonics so that he could play in any key. I mean, it's one thing to just play a little up and down the harmonics, but he can play melody. He knows where all the notes are. You had like learning a steel drum. You know how those are? The A is over here and B is on the other side of the drum. It's like, I don't know how they do it, but anyway.
He's amazing. It's a great guitar solo.
I think.
Let's grab a call. Deborah in Hampton. Hi, Deborah.
Hi. I wanted to ask Peter about the Greenwich Village connection. I remember reading that quite a few musicians made their way out to L.A. at that time, John Sebastian, Stephen Stills, the Moms and Papas, and I'm wondering if he maintained relationships with them once they all moved out there, and if he's still in touch with any of them.
Thank you, Deborah, for your question. I did know those people on the East Coast. I met Cass Elliot and Danny Doherty and Zelyanovsky in D.C. One of my first forays out of town, and all those other guys. And yes, of course, I kept aware of those guys when they moved west. Except I don't think John Sebastian did. He was, I think, Love and Spoonful remained an East Coast band. But of course, the Mamas and the Papas. I used to go up to Cass's. During my lunch hour or while I was shooting the show, I just, okay, I'm going to go say hi to Cass. And up I went. I dated Cass's sister for a while. She's still a very good friend of mine. And of course, Steve, I like to say Steve introduced me to the Monkees, and he got a consolation prize of CSNY. He's never forgiven me. For usurping his. I saw his show the other day, not too long ago, down here at the Foxwoods. He was very good. I was impressed, and at one point he hit a high note and said, "I'm as astonished as you are." And
it's funny how that works too. Some people are just, as they age, irrespective of how good they've taken care of themselves or not. They're just really, really lucky. I mean, Sir Paul appears not to have lost. And I mean, he's singing in the same keys and octaves, I think, that he recorded a lot of that stuff
Pretty much,
in.
yeah. He's very good.
And then other people, it's like they lose an octave, even though they've been drinking hot tea and lemon juice the whole time.
And McCartney refused to warm up his voice, too, of a given day. It was actually Mickey who said, Paul, I'm really finding my work is much better if I actually do like a warm-up exercise. So Paul took to leading his band in a rousing course of "Hey, hey, we're the Monkees" in order to warm up his voice, and now he warms up his voice singing "Hey, hey, we're the Monkees."
Hey, I don't think that anybody who didn't go through what you went through could possibly imagine what it was like to be sort of thrust out into the public eye at that level with that amount of adulation, that amount of attention, and just a world in which doors just swung wide open for you. I mean, people are very excited about the Monkees. And, a lot of the people that we're going to talk about today are among the departed, some of them from natural causes, but some not from natural causes. And you worked with the incredibly talented Lowell George. You had
Dear Lowell.
You had Jimi Hendrix open for the Monkees at one point. We can get back into those stories too. But, did you at a certain point, besides the fact that you're about to strangle yourself with your headphone cord right now, I'm asking him questions about survival, and he's having
listening.
like an emergency. Well, did you at a certain point say to yourself, somehow or other I have to not lose myself. Somehow or other I have to survive this.
I wanted to lose myself. It was all about bye-bye. I didn't like the guy I was. The whole thing about, oh, God, Colin, do you want to talk about fame and why fame and charisma and why those things? Because I've been thinking about this stuff for a long time, and it'll get kind of serious if we do. The long and the short of it is that I don't believe anybody gets to be famous without needing the adulation as a substitute for reasonable affection and love in the early life. And of course, you need a certain amount of support anyway. You need parents who provide healthy, physically healthy, and aren't there for you at some, or at least you perceive them to be. I have to say, I don't know whether my parents were emotionally neglectful. I know that I felt neglected. It may not be on them at all. It may just be a quirk of nature. I'm discovering that I'm not built like a lot of other people in a lot of ways. But be that as it may, the sense of being isolated leads me to think that if I can only get the millions to love me, then it'll be all right, And of course, no amount of times that I tell you how I go about telling you what it was like would prepare you to walk out and suddenly be in the middle of that.
Right.
But in fact, the rest of it is, it's all human anyway. Nothing human is denied anybody human, basically. I really believe this very strongly. But I was thinking about Michael Jackson. I was asked to write something about Michael Jackson. And I wondered for a while whether there wasn't, I thought, why isn't there a school for celebrity and for fame? But of course, one of the things about being working towards being famous and, losing yourself in your guitar. And Elvis sang and he was listening to radio stations at night all by himself. And one of the things about losing yourself that way is because you finally come to believe you can't trust anybody. And your experience is that anybody who wants to help you wants you to help them more than they want to help you. They'll help you to help them, but that's the limit. That's as far as it'll go. If you can strike a decent bargain, you count yourself lucky. But there is no help. There is no help. Nobody can say, "Listen, kid, here's what you need to know in order to go out there." Because what do you want? Is the proper response. So no, there's no way of telling anybody what it's going to be like.
And I'm going to grab a call here. I want to come back to this for a second, though, because I think there's sort of a few more things that need to be said about that. But here's Mary in Hamden. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Hi.
You're talking to Peter Tork.
And Colin.
Hi, Peter. Hi, Colin. Oh, my God, I can't believe I'm talking to the great Peter Tork.
You're not. This is the lesser Peter Tork. The great Peter Tork is out in the parking lot doing great things.
Okay, well, as soon as he comes in, tell him I gave him that message. But I'm so glad to talk to you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for calling. What can I do for you?
I just wanted to thank you and the Monkees for just being such a great group. You were my first purchase on TV.
I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say your first purchase of cereal.
The Monkees were on every night. I watched you guys religiously. You were my favorite TV show group, and I remember right after the show ended, they showed your, to order the Monkees on, tape, and I remember it was COD at the time, charge on delivery, and I saved up all my allowance and waited for that tape to come in through the mail. There's the mailman, and I gave him all my allowance money, and I remember how great it felt to get that tape, and it melted. That tape melted.
Gee, well, thank you for thanking me, I guess. I appreciate very much that. I have actually been really heartened to have people come up and say, there was this one break in my life when life was okay. It was a half an hour a week on Monday nights, or like Mary was saying, I guess the after-school slot, half an hour a day, that kind of thing. That really turns out to be one of the great rewards of this. And so I have some thoughts on that, too, which might relate to whatever else is on your mind, Colin.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I was thinking about the issue of I say McLuhan-esque. It turns out that not exactly right. But one of the message of the Monkees, which nobody ever picks up on. I'm the only person in the world who picks up on this, and everybody I tell it to forgets it instantly. There's some kind of conspiracy. The Monkees was the only situation comedy in its day and for decades afterwards featuring young adults with no senior adult on the scene. Mm-hmm. And that was radical at the time. Up till then, it was My Three Stupid Sons, Father Knows Best, You Dolt, and Ozzie and Harriet, and they're, just blundering around. And what happened was this was right during Vietnam. Mm-hmm. The administrations, the successive administrations in this country, were prosecuting a war that was not popular at best and, virulently opposed at worst. And everybody in my circle, all of the kids, all of the people I know, knew that the authority had gone away. There was nobody you could trust upstairs from you. There was nobody senior to you that had your best interests at heart. Nixon, Johnson, those people, maybe Kennedy too. I'm not going to go there, but generally speaking, the prosecution of the Vietnam War, nobody was interested in the welfare of the people in this country. They were interested in their own egos and their own political careers. And that's all. And we knew that. Well, the Monkees didn't have an authority figure, and we got along fine and happily and unbegrudgingly and not bitterly without one. And that made for a reality, not a reality, but a paradigm, a life situation that was tremendously relieving. Brothers and sisters could take care of ourselves. And that's an incredibly good message, and I think one that's important today.
I think another thing that was, perhaps less, this is a less profound insight than the one you just made, but I think it was also a show about aspiration in a way that shows at the time were not. This wasn't about this fabulously successful rock band. It was about four guys who wanted to be a fabulously. Since then there have been things like the Flight of the Conchords and things like that have come along that kind of use that same idea. But I don't think anybody's seen anything like that either. Though this kind of whole idea that we wish we were something that we're not.
Yeah, the producers knew that there was no chance for a TV show if we were popular. Although at one point, in one episode, we start drawing huge crowds. It was the episode called The Devil and Peter Tork, where the devil gives the Peter Tork character the power to play the harp. Yeah. And suddenly, fans, and that goes away as soon as the devil comes to collect his contract.
All right, we have to take a little break here. We've got people tweeting in questions and stuff, too. We've got a lot of ground to cover. The show's almost over.
What?
I feel like I'm in that
my
episode.
goodness.
I have to ask the devil for another hour with Peter Tork. All right, we'll be back.
Your molecular structure is really something fine. A first-rate example of functional design. Those cosmic undulations are steady coming through. Your molecular structure, baby, me and you. Your cellular organization is really something choice. Electromagnetism fine to make me lose my voice. Got all my circuits open, my systems re-go. Your cellular organization, baby, stop the show.
All right, we've got just a little bit of time left in this interview with Peter Tork, the former Monkee who recently passed from this earth, but whose music continues to delight us.
One of the things that you missed on the radio is the expression on Peter Tork's face when he saw Colin's Monkees lunchbox. It was a mixture of fear and fascination. Today's show was produced by Betsy Kaplan, Patrick Scahill, and me, Kyone Wolf, with help from our interns Rusty Fisher and Brianna Gross. Voiceover help by web guru Greg Hill. The part of Bill Curry was played by Lon Chaney Jr. And now, back to Colin.
Yes, Lon Chaney Jr. actually did appear on a Monkees episode. And
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So Peter Tork is with us. This is horrible. We just have almost no time left, and I feel like we are just getting warmed up here.
Yeah, it feels like there's lots left to talk about.
There's a lot of things we want to talk about. The other night, I'm sitting, well, it wasn't the other night. It was a little while ago. I'm watching Breaking Bad. And there's this kind of montage. They're cooking meth and doing all this kind of frantic stuff. And this song comes on, and I just had this kind of moment of dislocation because I was listening to this, and I turned to my significant other and I said, "I know this song, but I don't know what it is. I mean, I could almost sing this song, but I don't know what it is."
Did you put the Shazam on it? Did you?
No, I mean, I thought and thought and thought about it. It finally came to me what it was. We're going to play a little. It's called "Going Down."
And it's a bit of it was an off the top of a cuff. We actually started with a jam. I was on bass, and we had this other guy playing drums, and everybody else, and we jammed. And then we gave it to the music building, and they sent somebody in to write lyrics for it, and then they gave it back to us. And Mickey started singing "Going Down the River." They said, "No, Mickey, twice as fast." He said, "What are you telling me?" And he did twice as fast, and that is "Going Down."
Let's hear "Going Down."
Floating in the river with a saturated liver, and I wish I could forgive her, but I do believe she meant it when she told me to forget it, and I bet you will regret it when you find me in the morning wet and drowned, and the world gets round. I'm going down, I'm going down. I'm coming up for air, it's pretty stuff under there. I'd like to say I didn't care, but I forgot to leave a note, and it's so hard to stay afloat. I'm soaking wet without a boat, and I knew I should have taken off my shoes. It's front page news, going down.
The thing about it is, this is true of a lot of Monkees songs, but initially I thought maybe this is a song that I've heard recently because it doesn't really sound fixed to any particular time period. I mean, this song could have been released in the last couple of years by some alt blues group or something like that. It would have made total sense.
I'm glad you think so. Yeah, we've always this one Ryushi that we played earlier. These are sort of the miracle cuts that we got away with. Something like when we put out that third album, there were two little cuts that just from goofing off in the studio. I like to call them miracle cuts, just off the wall stuff. That's what makes it fun. And one of the reasons why we wanted to be the guys making the albums, so that if this stuff ever happened because of who we were goofing, that we could capture that and show it to the folks.
I mean, it really the one of the things that you benefited from, even though you perhaps took some criticism from it initially, is first of all, this pulled upon the work of a lot of really terrific songwriters early on.
Oh, so sure, yeah, we had the best, you know, because I don't have any much to do with it. I can say without false pride that the Monkees songbook is one of the better songbooks of all time.
So, I mean, a lot of these, it was Man and Weil, it was Boyce and Hart, it was Carole King. Neil Diamond.
Neil Sedaka wrote a couple. Goff did.
The other Jon Stewart wrote Daydream Believer.
No, yeah, right. Not that. Well, John with an H.
Yeah.
The first replacement member of the Kingston Trio.
That's correct.
Right? Yeah, like that. And we got, really, we got the advantage of the best songwriters in America. Some of the very best, anyway.
And I think another tribute to that is that increasingly jazz singers are covering Monkee songs.
Cassandra
Wilson, yeah.
Wow.
That last train to Clarksville. But Kurt Elling just cut Pleasant Valley Sunday and has done it as this very extreme bop kind of version of it, too. I mean,
I'd love to hear that.
It's on the most recent release. His most recent release. It's terrific. And once again, jazz singers, they don't do songs that aren't good songs. Because they won't. Why would they bother?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. There's so much to do.
We were talking before, a little bit about sort of the psychic deficits that maybe make somebody want to be famous or willing to put up with being famous. Ultimately, though, at some point, you were not a happy monkey.
Well, because of the stuff we got about not being our own. Not getting to play our own music. And the fact that we got to play this one album together was a high point in my life. And I said, okay, let's go do it again, and everybody kind of looked blankly at me and cross-eyed. And I went, come on, this was it. This was the big it. And everybody, Michael wants to do his own thing. Davey was banging a tambourine. He knew his part from take one, and I'm 56, and he's still banging a tambourine. I can't do this anymore, Peter. And Mickey just, I don't know what happened to Mickey, but he refused to go on with it. So I quit.
Yeah.
So I went away thinking what I want to do is play music, be in a band, have a band, which I have one.
Was it also just kind of exhausting, though?
Well, it was tiring, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, that no matter who you are, if you've got agents and business managers, they don't want you to quit working. They have no interest in you taking a vacation. If you've got a manager who's interested in your long-term career, he'll say take a vacation when you need one. But the overwhelming majority of people, when their money is dependent on your working, they're not interested in you stopping.
You're a rented mule.
Yep.
All right, let's talk to Lori in Waterbury. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Colin.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Peter.
What's going on?
Get it off your chest, Lori.
I really wanted to just say that, like you, Colin, Peter Tork was my favorite Monkee, and I remember watching Saturday morning the Monkee show with my sisters, and when they would run across and bury in the sand, and me and my friends, everybody loved Davy Jones, of course.
I did too.
Yes, everybody loves him, sadly, his passing. But my Tiger Beat magazine picture that was on my wall was a View.
Ah, joy. You can tell how old people are by whether they saw us like every night or Saturdays or Mondays. It's in reverse order of age. Thank you for your call.
Yeah, thanks, Lori. Thanks for that call. Is it like a Rorschach blot? Like if Peter Tork is your favorite Monkee, does that mean something about you?
It probably does, but I haven't got the slightest.
Yeah, that would be a hard thing for you to achieve.
It would be.
Any perspective about.
Yeah.
Let me grab at least one more call here, and we've got a bunch of calls coming in here. This is Allison in Greenwich. These calls I think they fall into a pattern, but we'll play it out a little bit here. Hi, Allison.
Hi, Colin. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Allison.
This is a pattern. This is just like the previous caller.
I second that emotion.
I loved you all, but I had your picture on my wall, and I used to hope every day I'd grow up and marry you.
Oh, well, I'm not married yet.
Oh, well, I really do want to say, Colin.
Although my fiance, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And also, Peter, there was something about you and all of you guys. There was a kindness and a lightheartedness and a joy about your program that stood out for me as a young teen and child growing up. And it meant a great deal to me. And I have to say, I cried when Davy Jones died, as many of us did. I'm sorry, I'm getting teary. But I really, really just want to thank you because it brought us tremendous pleasure, myself and all my friends. And I want to thank you, and I just wish you all the best, and God bless.
Allison,
Allison.
She makes a great point. There was something about the Monkees where, rock and roll was starting to get a little bit more edgy and dangerous.
Not us.
But
not the Monkees.
But that was nice. I was a kid. Nobody was really going to to get hurt.
Yep. Yeah. Well, there was, right. There's, it was a tremendous fantasy. And it was I was going to make a joke. I didn't want to diminish Allison's sentiment, but if you got the writers were told, write that stuff, write these guys. We don't want these guys having fights or this is not about psychodrama. This is a situation comedy of the four of them against the world, or in the world.
Okay, I have like one embarrassing thing I have to admit, which is that for a long time, like way too long a time, I tried to. You guys used to wear these knit hats, and they were kind of like on the back of your head rather than on top of your head. I used to try to wear hats like that, or wear a knit hat like that. I mean, well into my 40s and 50s.
Are you aware that you've just ruined your entire career?
You know, I bet my career's been ruined for so long. Thanks very much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.
Well, your love keeps lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before. Keep it up, which is my desire, and I'll be at your side forevermore. Because your love keeps on lifting me higher, 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 higher. Your love keeps on lifting me higher, 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 higher. Well, I'm so glad that I finally found you. Yes, that one in a million girls. When I wrap my loving arms around you, well, I'm ready, yeah, 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 to face the world. Because your love keeps on lifting me higher, 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 higher. Your love keeps on lifting me higher, 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 higher. Now once I was downhearted, a disappointment was my closest friend. But you came and he soon departed, and I'll never see his face again. Because your love keeps on lifting me higher, 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 higher. Your love keeps on lifting me higher, 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 higher. Because your love keeps on lifting me high.